Welcome to Amy's Table. Today I'm talking with Tanya Kleindienst, an executive coach, leadership expert, and HeartMath practitioner who helps people build resilience, regulate stress, and lead with greater clarity and intention. If you've ever wondered how to lead yourself and others with more wisdom, compassion, and clarity, this conversation is for you. This is Amy's Table. Pull up a seat. Tanya, for people meeting you the first time, what do you do at Ready to Reach?
I work with leaders and organizations, especially ones that want to be high performing, but also really care about the people and the people experience that they're having. They want that high performance, but they don't want to burn people out, and they want to be engaging. So I primarily do that through leadership development, coaching, and organizational inclusive effectiveness type work.
So how win-win? You're improving their leadership skills, but also improving the overall culture and job satisfaction. It's funny when you mentioned don't want to burn people out. Years ago, one of my most meaningful managers, I was very excited about what we were working on and working too much and too many hours. And he had a meeting with me and he said, you know what, if you burn yourself to a cinder, you're no good for me. So I'm going to insist you take some time off.
Yes.
And that really stuck with me.
Right.
It's an important thing. Well, what do you think that leaders are really struggling with the most right now?
What immediately comes to mind, so many of my clients are dealing with this just sustained chronic stress without recovery. They're used to high pressure, stress, performance requirements, but it's the without recovery part. So I often hear that leaders say, the normal things that used to rejuvenate me, a good night's sleep, a day off, no longer work. That just deep sense of fatigue and relentless stress without that time for recovery.
Yeah, relentless.
Relentless.
That's a word for our times, isn't it?
Yes.
Did you have any kind of a career experience or journey that sort of made you say, what I'm doing now cannot coexist with what I want my life to be?
Yeah, for sure. Just maybe 9 years ago or so, my career has been in both consulting and corporate. And I always thought that I thrived in high pace, high stress situations, high performance. Really felt like I thrived in those times. But I just experienced this time of really achieving external outcomes and but internally feeling kind of depleted and disconnected. And I wasn't showing up for myself or the others in my care as a leader the way I wanted to. And I guess I had the good sense to just pause and kind of reevaluate. And it sounds cliche, but what does success mean? What is outcome driven the only way? How do I really define success? And how do I really want to live my life, not just for myself, but for the people around me? Am I showing up the way that I want to? So that really just kind of paused me to reevaluate.
I think when you've been somebody driven and high achieving and fast paced, it can be very hard to say, there's another way.
Yeah, because it becomes your baseline.
It does.
And your answer to feeling depleted, what my answer was, push harder, push myself harder, push other people harder. We just need to go harder, which is the exact opposite, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, you and I have really only met a handful of times, but each time we have had such delightful conversations. And, that makes me stop and think about how rarely people have meaningful, just conversations with people. No outcome, no agenda, just a conversation. And the first time we chatted for, a lot longer than I think either of us planned to. But you gave me a chestnut. And do you know that chestnut is by my skincare in the bathroom, and I love looking at it, but will you talk about why that chestnut is a thing you do?
Yes, I think I think, well, the chestnut is meaningful to me. I'm Ukrainian, and the chestnut is meaningful in Kyiv, Ukraine. But it also is just this grounding connection. It's kind of like a stress ball to me, but I really love being in nature. And it's just a grounding reminder of being present and not ruminating about what's happened before or planning for what's happening next. It's our life is just a series of these everyday little moments, and the chestnut's just a in your hand reminder of that connection.
I love it. It's the be where your feet are. You know,
Yes,
just stop for a
exactly.
moment. It's very tactile, and
It
I love
is.
it.
It
I
is.
love that as a signature that you do.
Yeah.
Well, the last time that we chatted, among the myriad topics we talked about HeartMath. And after you told me a bit about HeartMath, I said, wow, how do you know so much about it? And you're like, I'm certified. Oh, so HeartMath.
Yes.
And that is math, as in mathematics, HeartMath. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yes. Well, it's first it's a nonprofit research institute, but it's also just a practical set of tools and techniques. And I heard about it years ago, and their webinars, some of their research papers, always showing up in my feed or in my email. And at this time of kind of thinking about how we're all sort of in this chronic state of dysregulation, I didn't really think about it in those words, but that's a HeartMath word. I decided to really look into it, and I got certified in their Resilient Heart certification is what it's called. So I invested in actually learning more about it and getting certified. And it's basically a way of paying attention to our own emotional regulation that, you know, we pay so much attention to exercise and nutrition and sleep. These are all external ways to take care of our health and well-being. Well, there's a big internal way that we can care for our health and well-being, and it's emotional regulation. So HeartMath is just a way to get coherence between our heart, brain, and nervous system.
So coherence.
Yeah, very intentionally, quick, in the moment ways to do that.
That is so interesting to me. You know, when you mentioned regulation, and I don't know if I'm on the right track here, but there's a woman who does a nightly podcast, I guess, that you can listen to go to sleep. It's called Nothing Much Happens. It's fabulous. And she told a story one time about when you're in your house, open your front door, open your back door, emotions will come through, come and go, invite them in, just don't serve them tea.
Yes.
Is that kind of the regulation, or am I
a little bit.
off?
No, you're there. It's this way of paying attention to your heart, so your heart rhythm, your emotions, your breathing, and are they in coherence? Are they in sync? And it's yes, I love that visual that you just painted of the waves, because it doesn't mean that your stress goes away. It doesn't mean that problem that needs to be fixed is fixed. It's just more of a creating more capacity to lean in and be more hopeful, more thinking of the possibilities and so on, versus that stress response or reaction.
I love that it is really scientific, but also really human.
Right.
So this isn't something you could give us the top 10 tips for HeartMath health or whatever, but it's going to take practice, right?
Really, it's so simple, and it's just in the moment, things that you can use, surprisingly simple. And that's the idea, that it shouldn't be a regimented practice that you have to feel that you have to do or build these habits. Just ingraining in the creating awareness in your mind and body, so that you're not emotionally reacting in a charged way, but bringing that coherence so that you're responding in a more stable, calmer, focused way, that you're intentionally responding rather than an emotional reaction.
Is there an exercise you can lead us through right now?
Yeah.
A little quickie?
So quick.
Okay.
So let me talk you through it first, and
Okay.
then we'll do the practice.
Okay.
So say you just had a stressful moment. Maybe you had a stressful interaction, something didn't go the way that you expected it to, there's a new problem that just sort of emerged, someone isn't responding or performing the way you wanted them to, whatever your situation might be. So think of a moment like that. And you feel this sense of, I'm feeling the tension, I'm feeling it in my shoulders or in my throat. We all have our normal places where we carry stress, right? So HeartMath just helps you to bring awareness of, I've got that tension in my shoulders, I'm clenching my jaw. And the practice is just simply, if it's comfortable for you and something that doesn't create more stress, even just putting your hand on your heart. And the first thing about HeartMath is putting your hand there is already your brain has to map that sensation. So it's already creating a bit of a pause of what is this? And hopefully your heart gives you a sense of warmth and compassion and love and caring. So even just thinking about heart already puts you in sort of that state, right? And then the next step is just practicing your breathing. Take a nice big breath in, 4 or 5 seconds from your belly. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds. Breathe out through your mouth as if you're breathing through, you're doing it through a straw, right? Breathe out. And then just notice, where am I feeling that sense of tension? Can I soften it just a bit? Can I drop my shoulders? Ease that clench in my jaw. Just soften, just a bit. And in that moment, realize that your heart is generating positive energy. How can I use that just for a moment of gratitude, for appreciation? It could be something so simple like it's a sunny day and I feel the warmth of the sun on my face, that cat in my lap. Just a smallest moment of gratitude, appreciation. Sit with that for a moment. And that's it. And that sort of practice just helps you to take the edge off.
Yeah.
Are you feeling it?
I mean, I'm not stressed. I love talking to you, but I definitely also feel one notch calmer. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yes.
You know, the thing that a friend of mine has a business called Green Turtle Nutrition, and one day I said to her, Urati, why is that the name? Because I've got everything I need on my back, like the turtle. And it's like this kind of thing.
Yes.
There's so much power we have to make ourselves comfortable, make ourselves peaceful.
Exactly.
Make ourselves at ease. I really, really love that quite a bit.
Yes, and the word coherence might sound, fancy. It's just in sync. It's just bringing your heart, your brain, and your nervous system into sync. That if there's any sense of dysregulation or tension, just bringing them into more balance. And it's primarily through the vagus nerve. I'm sure you've heard of the vagus nerve, right? It's the longest and most complex cranial nerve in our system, and it acts like an information superhighway. So our brain, heart, and nervous system are constantly sharing information, but sometimes that gets out of whack. Something happens, it's an external trigger, but it activates cortisol spikes, which spikes very quickly in seconds, and we get dysregulated. Our brain goes one way, we tell stories about what this means and why it happened. Our body is preparing for fight, flight, freeze kind of response. That cortisol shuts down our executive functioning. We don't care about relationship. How have you ever snapped at someone and then had to repair it, right?
Yeah.
We don't care about relationship. We don't care about our own health and well-being or anything other than this emotional reaction, right? And what HeartMath does is help to first just bring awareness, the ability to just name and recognize what's happening, and then regulate ourselves quickly in a way that we can be more thoughtful and grounded in a more intentional response. that cares for people and yourself and so on.
It's funny, one of the things a line I drop a lot, and it maybe sounds a little in your face, but is the cavalry isn't coming.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like when you feel a sudden stress, when you feel a sudden whatever emotion it is, remembering it's fleeting, number one. If there's anything more fleeting than emotions, I don't know what they are.
Right.
But it's like to learn these things is to take agency for ourselves.
Exactly.
And what that does is in the end makes you realize how powerful you are. It's
Right.
like this.
Right.
Well, you talk about emotional states being contagious, and when we first talked about HeartMath, I saw it from clearly a layperson's perspective. I was thinking it was about the energy that is exchanged between us. Talk about how that factors into HeartMath.
So not to get too into biology, right? But it is so HeartMath and that regulation is very proven through research, and the vagus nerve and that superhighway of information, all very grounded in research. There's new research that is still sort of emerging that shows the evidence that is there that our hearts create an electromagnetic field at least 3 feet externally, can be measured externally from our bodies.
So we've got one that's overlapping
We have one that's
right
overlapping.
now.
Yes. So this emotional resonance, there's more and more emerging research that there is this connectivity between us. And more than our brains. We think of our brains as the electrical networks in our brains. More than even that, our heart is generating that degree of energy. So it is contagious. It is, we can create this emotional resonance, which is so important for leaders, because if you are stressed and impatient and struggling yourself to emotionally regulate, that's contagious. You're going to create that sort of response in others, whether they're aware of it or not.
Right.
But the opposite is true as
Right.
well.
Right.
When you are grounded and more emotionally stable and regulated and responding in a patient way, you're prioritizing connection and really listening, that's also contagious and sets that emotional tone for people.
You know, I mentioned when we first started talking about a great leader that I was so fortunate to have early in my career. And I think that anyone in leadership needs to understand the depth and breadth of their responsibility, because this particular man, he changed my life. He impacted my life, might be a better way to put it. And many of the ways I think and do and are is because of conversations I had with him.
Amazing.
And so it's like, it's worth making sure that your part of the equation is strong and you're apt to get more of it back.
Right.
At the event that you were at with me
Yes.
recently, you know, I mentioned the audience is putting out their HeartMath too. I didn't use that phrase, but
right.
they are.
They are.
And when you look at people in an audience that look disinterested, and what's funny I've learned, Tanya, often they're the most interested. They just don't realize
How it's showing up.
how it's showing up. But anyway, it's all part of the equation, and we sort of have I think an obligation as humans to do our part when we can.
And that's so emotionally intelligent of you to notice that people, we can tell ourselves a story. When we see someone's face, their body language, they're not interested, they're disengaged. And it could throw you off from what you're doing in front of them, right? Emotionally intelligent and being grounded, you look at their face, it's just the facts of what they look, not the story you're telling yourself of they're disengaged, this is boring, I'm wasting their time. You can get yourself all wrapped up in the meaning you're attaching, or you can just lower the water
Put
level,
a hand
right?
on your heart.
Yes,
Take a
lower
breath.
the emotional temperature. Take
Yeah.
a breath. And people engage in different ways. I don't know what their resting engagement face looks like.
Right. Or they're so lost in the moment that they're
Right.
just, well,
It's just not
it's
showing on their
interesting.
face. Right.
So the other thing that you're involved with, which I want to talk about quickly, and then I want to talk about something else. So we'll be brief with conscious
Okay.
capitalism, but you're involved with conscious capitalism, and right there, who doesn't love the name, right? And I was lucky enough to sit in on several meetings of the
Yes,
organization and talk a bit about conscious capitalism.
Yes, I've been involved in the Cincinnati chapter for several years on the leadership team, and conscious capital, it's a lot of what we've just been talking about. Conscious capitalism is leaders and businesses that believe that businesses can be successful and profitable and be a force for good.
And that's just the truth.
Yes, yes.
So anybody who thinks it can't be that ought to check out conscious capitalism, because it's true. I mean, you know, who was it who said, I see the other in myself and myself in the other? It was one of the big thinkers of the world. And, you know, God,
Yes.
you just got to remember that.
Yes.
You got to remember, and the golden rule and all of that, do unto others, it's that easy.
Yes.
Sort of like how you described HeartMath and self-regulation. Don't overthink it, just do it.
Yes.
I think that's important. Well, on a totally different note, when we were chatting, I was telling you stories about my mom and pennies and what we see from signals from loved ones who have passed. And you have kind of a cool thing you do with your family, and I mentioned it to my kids, and we're going to get official and do this.
That's
but
so fun.
tell a little bit about signs of those who have passed and what you and
Yeah.
your family have done.
So you were talking about pennies, and that's common, right? Where we look for signs of people that were loved ones. They're so important, were important in our life. They continue to be important. They impacted us, and we look for signals that they're still with us. We want to know that they're well, and we want to know that they're still felt in our lives, and we look for signs, right? And for you, it's pennies.
Right.
So my daughter and I were a little dark and twisty, maybe, in a loving way. But we were, and so my backstory of it is my mother-in-law. At the time that my father-in-law passed, before he passed, his favorite thing was having popcorn at night. He would watch TV. His evening snack was popcorn, salted, buttered popcorn. And he passed. My mother-in-law was in a parking lot, just a big parking lot full of cars. She smelled popcorn and immediately just had a sense that he was there and caring for her and just with her. It was just a real loving moment. So my daughter and I were saying, that's common that people associate something with someone. What if we just did that before we passed?
Right.
What if we said, this is how we're going to show up? My daughter immediately said, I'm going to be ribbons. I'm going to be ribbons in weird places, unexpected, stuck in a tree, on the ground, just ribbons in unexpected places.
So much.
So that just caused us to then extend it to the rest of our family. How will you show up for us? And if we can, then we don't have to guess or have our own, but then we know you're really there because it's the thing you said. So
I love that. So I am literally, my kids and I, we're going to write it down. We're going to record what it is we want to. You know, I thought maybe I would want mine to be pennies, but now that pennies are taken out of circulation, I'm worried I'd be setting them up for never being in touch with me again.
Yeah.
Well, so for anybody listening today who is just struggling with the what was the word we used earlier about the non-stop state of the world and the stress and all that, what suggestions do you offer?
I'd say don't wait for big when I'm on vacation, then I will. Not thinking that recovery and renewal and times of rejuvenation, that it's a reward for the hard work and the hustle. Just find those moments in every day. Our whole life is just a series of everyday moments and connection. Don't wait for the big things, and it's not a reward. It's a requirement. So look for those moments of recovery and don't push aside the importance of connection and renewal. Look for them in everyday moments and just act in ways that this is how I want to show up for myself and other people, and try to bring that into being present.
And if you find a chestnut, pick it up.
Yes, and share it.
And share it. Tanya, I love talking to you so much, and I'm so glad you came today. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure, Amy. It's always just a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us too. And don't forget, there's always a seat for you at Amy's table. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks to our sponsors too, Wow Window Boxes, High Street, and Jenny Simon Face. Please subscribe to Amy's Table and share this conversation with a friend. Follow along for more inspiration, gatherings, and everyday ideas from our community. Until next time, keep looking for the good, keep making room for connection, and remember, there's always a seat for you at Amy's Table.